Here, the Professional Bowlers Tour. Today from El Paso, Texas, it's the $130,000 El Paso Open. In our first game, three-time champion Scott Dvers of Centerville, Indiana, will seek his first title since 1988. His opponent is Jess Stayrook of San Diego, who hopes to earn his second PBA title. That winner will face Billy Hall of Marion, Ohio, who's making his first championship round appearance. In the semifinal game, we have another first-time TV finalist, David Traber of Woodstock, Illinois. Our tournament leaders finished second twice after leading the qualifying in the last 5 weeks. Joe Salvemini of Oklahoma City. That's our talented field of finalists for today's Professional Bowlers Tour telecast.
Out in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl.
Yes, that's Marty Robbins singing about the sprawling West Texas city of El Paso, to where the professional bowlers have come this week for the El Paso Open. Off in the background, just before the mountains, are 1.5 million inhabitants in Juarez, Mexico. El Paso shares the border with Mexico, and on this side of the Rio Grande, there are 750,000 people. This is my first visit here. I'm sorry I haven't been here before, but I'm intrigued by the 400 years of history and culture that I discover here. You see reminders of missions, trails of the conquistadors, the Western lawmen, and yes, even the bad men, the guys with black hats like Pancho Villa, traipsed through this area. The cavalry came here in 1848 and established Fort Bliss. In the 1600s, the Tewa Indians migrated here from New Mexico. El Paso is proud that now their heritage lives on here. The professional bowlers started earlier in the week, and we've come down now to the finals. They're about to get underway, so let's go to my colleague now, Nelson Burton Jr.
Thank you, Chris. That's an awesome view of El Paso and its sister city, Juarez. And just a few miles from the border lies Bowl El Paso, a bowling center designed for amateurs and for professional bowling. Special walkways for the mechanics, a big paddock for the players for their lockers, and a tremendous concourse for these overflow fans. Now, this is the first time ABC television has done a championship, professional bowling championship from El Paso, but just 29 years ago, we also did our very first telecast of the Professional Bowlers Tour on ABC television. Roy Lown with the bowling ball. Trips a six-spin en route to the title. Eddie Elias, the founder of the PBA, presenting the jacket. And now, 29 years later, the host proprietor here, among 4 other owners, Roy Lown. Roy, did you believe that PBA would come this far from team bowling into individual bowling?
No, I don't think I did. It's really been amazing how far it's come. I think everybody was hoping at that time that it would go this far, but I'm not sure how many thought that it really would, but it's fantastic now. You have a great center here. You're a left-hander. You have 3 lefties in the finals. Pick me a winner for today. Well, I think Jess Stayrook. He went last night with 7 straight games that he lost and still stayed in 4th place, and I think he's ready to come back now. All right, Roy, thank you very much. And let's look how the players are going to play the championship pair. The oil is applied 41 feet on these synthetic lanes. It's very dry in the last 19 feet. I expect some pretty good scores in a big hook ball. Now, the couple of right-handers, Traber playing a fairly straight line between the first and second arrows, and Billy Hall playing the great big hook out to the edge. Now, the left-handers are playing all 3 different spots. Stayrook, Roy Lown's picks, playing the big hook out to the left edge, and Scott Dvers in the first match will be playing right down the second arrow into the 1-2 pocket, Chris. Look for good scores and a lot of prize money.
That's right, here in El Paso, a total of $130,000. 20 to the winner, 10-5, 7,000, 5,500, and 4,500. And what a pleasure to see Roy Lown again, who that day at Paramus, Frank Esposito's Paramus, he earned $15,000 because it was a very special first-time effort. And the following year, then, the PBT, which we are happy to have been with from that moment, began. And here we are with our next to last spring tour telecast in El Paso. Next week, Edmond, Oklahoma. And here now we're looking at one of the two left-handers, one of the three that Bo mentioned, Jess Stayrook, San Diego, California. Jess, in his first television of 1990, he has left the 7-pin, Bo.
Plays the big hook out to the left edge and is leading this tournament with 34 after 34 games, averaging almost 230, and just completely fell apart last night, losing every game except the very last game, surviving for the championship round. Hopefully can turn it around again today.
Still marking with a spare now, and his opponent quickly up is Scott Dvers of Centerville, Indiana. That's a suburb of Richmond, Indiana. And using a lot of the approach. Oh, he's nice and smooth, isn't he?
Scott Dvers, an accuracy player. In these days of high friction lane surfaces, especially the synthetic lanes, have a higher surface friction than the wood lanes, causing the ball to hook a lot more. Dvers still depends on accuracy. A nice push away, nice smooth swing, a little bit outside, but he tucks it back inside, right by that right foot, playing the extreme outside line.
Finished 5th in this field and ousted Mike Albee, who finished 6th. Leaving a 7-pin, the young 28-year-old professional who at one point in the event here in El Paso was 64th. That was after the first round, but then steadily advanced, and after great play last night is in this number 5 spot. Scott Dvers, whose last win was in 1988, his 3rd title. That was in Austin, Texas. With 1 title, Jess Stayrook. Is cutting through and leaving the 2-4-7.
Stayrook, a hot and cold player with a big hook ball. In his 42 games to qualify for the championship round over the last 4 days, he's had games of 152, 155, 158, and then interspersed in there, as you see his style, were a 279 and a 300. He has an inside-out swing, the big hook, goes a little high, the 2-4-7, a tough spare.
So the 31-year-old left-hander will move to the left side, and this is our first game. If you have just joined us, we're at Bowl El Paso, a very modern and beautiful bowling establishment. Winner will meet Billy Hall, and then David Traber, and our tournament leader from Oklahoma City, Joe Salvemini. And again, Bo, Jeff cuts through in 2-4-7.
You're right, Chris. The big hook ball, and he's actually fighting it a little bit with perspiration on his hands. It's warm outside. It's warm in the bowling center. As you see the style and the position of Stayrook. Right over the second arrow, swings wide, then right up into the pins, drifting high, avoids the split. But once again, having trouble holding on the ball. Very warm in the bowling center. Difficult bowling conditions.
There is more humidity outside than is usually the case here, Bo. I expected it to be extremely dry, but we found it quite different.
Very true, Chris. As you look at the grip of Dvers, the full fingertip grip, and he uses a fairly straight shot, which is better when your hand is slipping.
And leaves a 3-pin. Our scorekeeper today, as usual, when he's not on the telecast, Butch Soper, he finished 7th this week, so he got a paycheck. Nelson?
Soper bowling very well, as you see Dvers' ball just sliding by, leaving the 3-pin. With a conversion here, he would lead the match by 5.
All right, Scott Dvers. We asked him earlier to describe how he got involved in bowling.
Well, I started out in the junior program at the age of 7. I bowled in it for about 7 or 8 years, and I finally got a part-time job at one of the local bowling centers. And that was at the age of 16. That's when I started taking the game serious, and I just developed and practiced a lot harder, and here I am today.
Okay. My second job in broadcasting was in this man's hometown, WKBV in Richmond, Indiana. Descendants of the Tiwa Indian tribe maintain their cultural ties as part of the Living Pueblo exhibit in Isleta. Our very first game, nearing the halfway mark, Jess Stayrook of San Diego, one of 3 left-handers in our field today, is trailing by 5 pins. He has a spare up shooting in the 4th frame. Still can't get that first strike.
Kind of an unlucky break there. Stayrook throws his best shot of the match and just slashes the 5-pin out, and it shoots right in front of the 10-pin. Kind of an unusual pin action, but once again I said, watch this pin action. Watch the 5-pin. There the ball strikes the 5-pin and actually drives it straight back. The 6-pin comes off the sidewall. A very powerful shot. Bad break.
Okay. We asked Jess who influenced his style of bowling.
Well, I started bowling when I was about 13. My dad was my biggest influence on my bowling. He still is. I started bowling on the Professional Bowlers Tour in 1987. Things have worked out pretty good for me since I've been out here, and my dad still is a big influence on my bowling. When I get in trouble, that's who I seek for help. And here I am today, and we'll see how it goes today.
That's so often pointed out in bowling in particular, where the dads have been so important to the professional, like my colleague. Nelson Burton Sr. had a lot to do with Bo's style and technique.
Very true, Chris.
All right, Jess Stayrook staying close. Only 7 pins separating these two. Now Scott Dvers. He has 2 strikes, one of them in the last frame, so he's in the 5th with a strike working. So that increases Scott's lead now to 17 pins.
Dvers, who really explained to me how he learned his style. He learned to bowl on lacquer bowling lane conditions. That's before even the polyurethane surfaces we see today and even the synthetics. So he developed a game built around accuracy. And even with today's synthetic surfaces, he's still very successful because he's so accurate. In one tournament this year, he made the finals in the Budweiser Open. He only had 3 missed spares in 42 games.
All right. Jess Stayrook talking to our tournament director, Harry Golden, asking perhaps for a re-rack, commenting on something 60 feet away. He's still looking off to the right here. May have been some extraneous movement.
Well,
oh, yes, now.
Pin in the channel, and it has to be back beyond what we call the in kickboard there, Chris. If it's in the in the pit area, he can play, and it is in the pit area, so it's just maybe it bothers him a little bit, but if you were in tournament play, they would tell you to go ahead and play. $200,000 at stake next week as the Qualians International Summer Classic, which is the long format. The players will be starting in Oklahoma City, Edmond to be exact, tomorrow.
Oh, there it is. Strike number 1 for Jess Stayrook in this first match. He needed it. And we look forward to going back to Edmond, seeing Richard Altman, and the red carpet is always out there. Now Jess can cut the lead to 17 with a strike here on the left lane.
Tough break for Jess Stayrook. He needed to strike there to really tighten this match up. As these two players have played 4 times over the last 3 years, The matches, 3 of them have ended in a tie, and Dvers has won the other match.
All right. The defending champion here, Tony Westlake, finished 54th. And there it is, the mighty Rio Grande, separating 2 countries, Mexico and the United States. And from where we're speaking, where the bowling is taking place, only a few miles away.
Plus, the Tour de France continues. It's all next on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Jess Stayrook, 8th frame, first game. Oh, trailing by about 37, and then this, the 7-10. While we were away, his opponent, Scott Dvers, continued striking, making it 4 in a row with 1 in the 7th, then left the 5-pin, covered it for his spare. And now a hapless, hopeless situation for Stayrook at this point of the match. And that leads us now a 49-pin trail.
Thank you,
and
Chris.
we go to Nelson
Billy
Burton.
Hall, your first time on TV. It's going to be very difficult. And what are your thoughts as you're going out there?
I'm just going to try to make good shots, learn all I can, and try to have fun.
Well, that's the way to do it. Good luck.
And Jess Stayrook, despite that open frame off a 7-10 split, came right back and gets a little better break, perhaps too late, to strike in the foundation 9th frame. Now Scott Dvers up, the other left-hander, shooting in the 9th, spare working, leading by 49. A 7.
For Dvers, who is a nice steady player, to be relaxed, having this match well in hand, working at a 227 pace, he's going to be a very formidable opponent for Billy Hall, who is making his first championship round appearance next match.
All right. You heard Bo just talk to Billy Hall, who now continues to stay loose. He'll be up next against the winner of this game, Billy from Marion, Ohio. Nice pinfall, as we have a winner as a result of that strike on the part of Scott Dvers, so he'll be meeting Billy Hall in our second match of the El Paso Open, all happening here at Bowl El Paso.
Brought to you by AT&T, the right choice. And by the Quality Choice. Quality, comfort, Clarion, and Sleep Hotels.
Okay, there you see the score of the first match. Scott Dvers, winner of 3 tournaments, 236, 7 strikes. Jess Stayrook, winner of 1 with a total of 179. And there is Dvers. You met Roy Lown, one of the 4 owners. Here are the other 3. Frank Hatfield, Dave Shelton, and Phil Prieto. So we thank them for their hospitality. And Roy, of course, is at the very right of your screen. The Budweiser Kingpin standings, points awarded, as we've been telling you each week, based on tournament finishes. Bonus points to the top seeds, 126. Well, through 26 weeks, Amleto Monicelli maintains his lead in the standings with 702 points. I think that one may be a little late. But Chris Warren is second, and Monicelli has moved up to the top spot. And speaking of top spots, El Presidente of the PBA, Johnny Petraglia. Hello, John.
Thanks, Chris. Nice being here.
Good to have you here.
It's great.
The lefties.
The lefties are doing a job this week, Chris. I think a dozen of them made the finals, and the Salvemini leader again, just all terrific all week.
Well, John, we're looking forward to your comment as they're getting ready to start the second match here with a very nervous Billy Hall going against a relaxed, loosened up, somewhat veteran Scott Dvers. Tremendous advantage to Dvers. Let's see how Hall can perform. It is really tough, Chris. There is no way in the world a young player can ever practice for this type of situation.
All right, here's that non-winner. He is 25 years old, 6'3", 195. Never worse than 17th throughout the El Paso Open. And that first television career shot. Here it is. I hope it's a good one for his sake. John, that relieves some pressure, doesn't it?
It sure does, Chris. I know he was really nervous. That really takes the pressure off him getting that first one out of the way.
Now Dvers is John, who is involved in our bowling tip of the week later on in the telecast, has a tip for left-handers, is a proponent of that down and in shot for lefties. His man won the first game.
And his man evens up the match. This is our second game. You just joined us. The winner of the first game was Scott Dvers, at whom you're looking, by a score of 236 to 179. 7 strikes along the way. At one point he had a 4-bagger. The winner of this game, to sort of set you up, David Traber, and then our tournament leader, Joe Salvemini. Big crowd here at Bowl El Paso.
Yes.
Oh, that was Petraglia smooth.
Well, John, you always lofted the ball well out in the lane, but we've noticed with synthetic lanes that rolling the ball smoothly down the foul line seems to work best. What do you think of Dvers' shot on that particular roll?
Well, Bo, right now I think Dvers is in great shape. He's figured out a terrific angle to the pocket that's making him carry much better than, say, Stayrook did the first game, and that can be the deciding factor on this pair.
Oh, what a lovely break. First breaking up the 7, 10, and then finally the 10. All right, still even after 2 frames.
A power shot by Billy Hall. He has a nice smooth delivery, 5 steps, everything in really good position. Shoulders square, swing inside out, tremendous lift on the ball, and a good extension and follow through. He's really holding his form, Johnny Petraglia, under the pressure, and he just rips the rack.
Well, he's a great young talent, Bo. This is only his 13th event nationally in the PBA, and he's on TV. That's a terrific start in the career.
And right now he's waiting for his bowling ball to return. We have 40 lanes here at Bowl El Paso, but apparently lanes 29 and 30 do not want to return the ball. Now watch the action of the head pin. That's the key pin in this shot. This is Billy Hall's second frame. Goes to the left sideboard, drives out the 7, then kisses out the 10. Tremendous lift and power, and he stays even with Scott Dvers through 2 frames.
Billy Hall, his best finish prior to this week was 28th in North Olmsted, Ohio, at the Budweiser Open.
Good solid shot by Billy Hall, and if one thing I noticed during the week that Billy struggled with was not so much his demeanor on the lane or his self-confidence, but was his spare shooting. He's a little bit wild on spares, and under the pressure right here, let's see how he does on the 10 pin.
Money here today, 20,000 of the winner, 10-5 for runner-up, 7,000 for third. Loser of this game will get 5. Jess Stayrook won 4,500 in the first game, which he lost.
Johnny Petraglia, when I asked Scott Dvers what he thinks about when he bowls, he says, "I just bowl the pins, not my opponent." Are you a proponent of that type of style on television?
When I'm on TV, Bo, I always try to eliminate the person that I was bowling. I think that beating yourself is the one way to lose, and if you just bowl your game, the breaks will even out.
Second point here is we see Dvers leaving the 3-5-9, a difficult spare for a lefty for sure, as the overhead shows you him lighting the ball just a little bit wide, not getting hardly any hook at the back end. John, he's such a good spare shooter. Do you think that's just because he throws that straight ball?
I think that anybody that doesn't throw a very powerful ball becomes a very good spare bowler over the years, because they realize that will have to be the strong point of their game.
And we showed him how to miss that one, right, Chris?
Yeah, we sure did. We sure did, guys.
Dvers, as I had said earlier, when I interviewed him for the, as you see him chopping the 3-9 off the 5, interviewed him for the finals of the Budweiser Open in Sunrise, Florida, said he had only missed 3 spares in 42 games, and that's absolutely magnificent considering the players bowl over 4 days. They're crossing pairs across the bowling center all day long, and that's really great shooting. Tough break there in the 3rd.
Okay, we're nearing the halfway point of our second game. 14 pins separating Billy Hall and Scott Dvers. Hall the leader. That's flaming mesquite, and it signals another day of traditional baking by the P.B.A. Indians. After heating the clay ovens, they're then cleaned and washed to lower the temperature. The bread is then baked, as it has been done for hundreds of years. And is it ever special? I know. Hope you can try it someday.
Quality Inn's International Summer Classic on ABC Sports next Saturday.
Quality Inn Big Invitational, Edmond, Oklahoma next week. We're in El Paso today, and you're looking at Billy Hall of Marion, Ohio, non-winner, who at this point is leading Scott Dvers, who won the first game by 14 pins. He has a spare up in the third, shooting in the fourth, right lane. High hit, leaving this 6-10. A little warm in the house today, Johnny.
Yes, it is a little warm, and Billy unfortunately had that mistake first time on TV out of the commercial. You get a little bit soft.
Did you prefer, Johnny, just to bowl as rapidly as you could within reason?
Yes, it was a better feel and didn't give you a chance to think and get nervous.
All right. Okay, earlier we asked Billy Hall how he developed his bowling game.
Chris?
Well, I started at age 12 in the junior program, worked up to the men's league and then into the regional program. This is my 12th national tournament in a row, and my dad started me into bowling, so he's been a big influence on my game, and looking forward to having some fun today.
Okay, voice of Billy Hall. He loved that strike in the fifth frame as we go to Nelson Burton.
And here's a man who is making his first championship round appearance. Dave Traber, a little bit apprehensive going out there?
No, I'm not. I feel comfortable. I bowled a couple of TVs back home and in the regionals, and I'm ready.
Well, he's got a great attitude, Chris, and he may be another right-hander out there competing in the semifinals.
And Scott Dvers now has just cut Billy Hall's lead to 2 pins in a very impressive shot. John, are you going to compete next week in Edmond, Oklahoma?
Oh, yes, and the Quality Inn's International. I'm looking forward to it. Great stop on a summer tour for us.
$200,000 total. Three-bagger for Scott Dvers, who had strung 4 in his first victory. 236 to Jess Stayrook's 179.
Well, for the statistic buffs, the man who has been leading after 5 frames this year has won 77% of the matches. So right now, Billy Hall was that man leading after 5 frames, but with that double by Scott, Hall has fell in arrears by 2.
Oh, a very important strike for the right-hander. Doubling, 5th and 6th, now with that 2-pin lead and moving over to the left side to hopefully increase it to 12. After us, ABC's Wide World of Sports. Champ Gianfranco Rossi meets schoolboy Darren Van Horn in the IBF Junior Middleweight title fight. Plus, and get this, for the first time in this year's Tour de France, American Greg LeMond has dramatically taken over the lead. Greg now wearing the traditional leader's yellow jersey. So that'll be a part of Wide World today. And a turf race from Atlantic City, Caesars International Handicap.
Chris, and I'll give you the winners of that race, or my predictions in a little bit, but right now Billy Hall has run into big trouble here in the 7th frame. When he could have taken a 12-pin lead, he kind of goes over the top of the ball, and he has the 4-7, 6-7, and all he can do is shoot for the 4-7, get the best count he can, because he doesn't want to throw away pins on a double and stay close in the match.
So a setback momentarily for Billy Hall of Marion, Ohio. We're going to take this break and then return. Fort Bliss, the largest industry in El Paso, employs over 100,000 civilian and military personnel. Fort Bliss, 1848.
Plus, the Tour de France continues. It's all next on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
That's right. Wide World next. And next to Bowl here at Bowl El Paso is Scott Dvers, who won the first game. Right now, he has 3 in a row shooting in the 7th. I can't wait for Bo's pick in the Caesars International Turf Race from Atlantic City coming up on Wide World. All right, 6 pin.
Well, an easy spare for Dvers here, and he can maintain a 12-pin lead in the match. Chris, now as Dvers quickly up with another ball, and you know Johnny Petraglia, even with his accuracy, he still goes to a higher surface friction ball for spares.
Well, sometimes, especially if the track is drying out on the right, you want to use a ball that'll get through the heads to get across the lane at the 7 pin.
It was not the 6 pin. Maybe it's the number 6 horse in the field that's going to win in Atlantic City.
Well, you're pretty close, Chris. It's a 6-to-1 shot, and it's mark of distinction. And he's not the favorite. The favorite is Steinlen going off at 8-to-5. And I'll tell you why mark of distinction is so good. He's bred to go the long distances. It's a 1 mile and 3/16. He's an English horse, and they're bred on turf, and this is a turf race. So bet your money on mark of distinction.
And Scott Dvers showing his skills here this afternoon with another strike, this one in the 8th. Maintaining a 12-pin lead, but Billy Hall has 142 through 7, 8th frame now.
This is where the matches really begin on a professional bowlers tour. Right now, Dvers going at a 2:14 pace, Hall at a 2:02 pace. A lot of room to change around.
Now leaving the 6, 7, 10.
It actually got a bad break when the 9-pin fell out. It's much easier split to convert with that 6, 7, 9, 10 up there than the 6, 7, 10. He cuts right through the middle, and he really has to go for it. A little split making right here would put some pressure back on Dvers. Got to go across lane and slide that 6 into the 7.
So back-to-back open frames for Marion, Ohio's Billy Hall. Disastrous at this point, trailing by 23. Meanwhile, Joe Salvemini and David Traber continue to stay loose, warming up for their matches coming up.
It's perform time for Billy Hall. Must throw some strikes to win this match, 9th frame. Well, Johnny Petraglia, I think you picked out a little flaw in Hall's game when he came out of the commercial. He was soft and went high. All his mistakes have been too slow. What mistakes would Dvers make in this situation? His experience, he has a 23-pin lead.
I think the mistake that Dvers might make here is get a little quick and leave it wide, because he did that a few times last night on crucial shots. No mistakes today, Bo.
Well, solid in the pocket, the 7-pin, and as we've seen, he's had no problem converting this. And right now, the job for Dvers is to get good counts. He needs to make marks and get good counts to lock up the match as he leaves the solid 7, quickly up, no problem with the spare. Now for Dvers, his situation is simply this. He needs to fill 18 pins in the 10th frame. That would be a strike, an 8, or a 9, spare 9, or any combination of that would put him at 212 or better, and he would lock out Billy Hall. Billy Hall, looking at the scoreboard, knows that the best he can do is 211. It's still not over.
We're at Bowl El Paso in the El Paso Open.
The camera style of the left-handers. I have never seen this before. Thank you, Woody Fryman. And a good style view of Scott Dvers locking up the match. He only needs 8 pins on 2 balls. You saw that swing nice and close to his body, that right foot sliding within 3 inches of the foul line. And a new view for the left-handed viewers. Dvers just needs 8 pins on 2 shots.
All right. Well, Bo's tip of the week is about the difference between bowling left-handed and right-handed. And what better men to have with him than Mark Ross and Johnny Petraglia.
Today's bowling tip of the week is for the left-handed player. And to help me with a tip,
is left-handed star Johnny Petraglia and power right-hander Mark Roth. John, what do you have for us today?
Well, Bo, there's a myth in the bowling world that left-handers throw a bigger hook than right-handers, when in fact the opposite is true. When we look at the lefty greats, Davis, Anthony, Albee, we realize that they're end-over-end roll without a lot of turn. The reason for this is simple. On the left side of the lane, a lefty grows up on smooth boards, so he develops a release to get the ball to hook in time. The right side of the lane, it has rough boards, so the righty develops a lot of turn to skid the ball through the early part of the lane.
Sounds sensible. Let's take a look at Mark's style and your style, and let's do a little comparison. On the left side of your screen, power player Mark Roth. Starting the ball in the center of the lane and sending it out to the very last board, then breaking it very sharply into the 1-3 pocket. Look at his trajectory. Almost 20 boards of hook. Now on the right side of your screen, southpaw Johnny Petraglia, the more conventional style. Starting the ball on the 10th board around the second arrow, breaking it about 7 or 8 boards into the 1-2 pocket. Look at his trajectory. Mark, the power shot works well for the right-handers, and that's the way to do it. And John, you recommend for the left-handers, and I'm sure that everybody's been successful going down and in using that accuracy.
ABC Sports brings you the ultimate bowling home video.
Now, let's get on with the action.
Learn how to fix your problems the right way. Improve your game strategy. And practice smarter. It's Bo Burton's instructional video, Score More. Just $24.98 plus $3 shipping. Call 1-800-4ABC-V.
Shooting at 223, and Billy Hall in his first television appearance ever. A very commendable 211. So Dvers now goes up against David Traber in our semi-final match. We've enjoyed El Paso, and part of it because of this man, Joe Salvemini, location manager for the El Paso Film Commission and tribal council member of the Tigua Indians that came here to this area in the 1600s. A neat guy. He's been in every office of his tribe and is very important to their cultural existence and their very own existence. And we exist by going to Edmond, Oklahoma next week, Bo, for the $200,000 first ever Quality Inns International Summer Classic, a big event.
And the size of the field this week, 148 players, average game 204, 203 to make the top 24. Here's some of the other finishers. Mike Albee, Butch Soper, who just came off a win. Hugh Miller, we saw him win a couple of weeks ago. Andy Nyer, $3,000. Local favorite, Miller, $2,800. Firestone champion, Williams. A tie for 12th, Dwayne Fisher and Joe Furpo. Moran, a good check. Big Steve Cook, $2,100. Rossell and Ozio, 16th and 17th, good paychecks. Randy Peterson, guest commentator a few weeks ago, and David Husted, top player. Tommy Baker, the dapper one, 20th. Snell, $1,500. Krupa, 22nd. Pete Weber, $1,350, rounding out the top 24. Pfizer, $1,300, and a wonderful trophy to the winner. And now we're ready for the semifinal.
And here we go, and Scott Dvers, who has a total of 15 strikes in his 2 victories, will shoot first on the left lane. Chris Warren finished 33rd. Dave Ferraro, 34th. Walter Ray Williams, 37th. Scott Dvers continuing to show his talent today. He is a 3-time champion, yet has to qualify in every tournament, Bo.
Still on the Rabbit Squad. There's only 64 exemptions available each year to the tournament field. You have to finish in the top 64 on points, and Dvers hasn't made it.
David Traber, he hopes to get out of that Rabbit Squad, too. He's a non-winner, and it's his first television career appearance.
Traber with a fairly simple style, 4-step delivery, slightly delayed push away, medium-high backswing, good loft over the line. A style very similar to almost Scott Dvers. He plays the down and in shot.
Our second right-hander in our telecast today, the other being Billy Hall of lovely Marion, Ohio.
And our tournament leaders, another left-hander, Joe Salvemini, who's trying to break a string of 4 straight second-place finishes. Hard to break that string when you get on that negative attitude, but let's see who's going to be the challenger. Semifinal match. Looking up the lane at Dave Traber.
David Traber, our first look at him here on ABC. And he opened with a spare and then a strike. Now Scott Dvers, second frame, strike up. Six pin.
You can see the lane starting to hook a little bit more. Now, we've talked about carry down or oil carry down in previous telecasts this summer. We saw it in Vegas, Fresno, Phoenix. But on these synthetic lanes, the ball starts to hook later on in the telecast. Now, look for the players to increase their speed and have real good carry. A little bit different characteristic to these lanes.
Scott Dvers spare, his 12th television appearance, his 4th here in 1990 and 2nd in a row.
Dvers going to some rosin for his thumb. Scott had a great year in 1988, winning $94,260 plus. And in 1989, he strained his lower back, moving some material out of a truck, and he really struggled and only won $29,000. He looks like he's back on track right now in 1990.
Finished third last week, and over $41,000. Now David Traber, who won the Fairlane's National Resident Pro Championship in Phoenix in 1986, which qualified him for the Firestone, and he finished tied for 27th in 87.
Good all-around player, just getting his feet wet on the big tour.
And that's part of the baptism of fire, isn't it?
Well, Chris, it's so hard to keep from pulling the ball under pressure. Even a veteran, when he gets a number of strikes in a row or maybe needs a strike for a title, has a tendency to miss left. And you see a young player here, a little bit apprehensive to say the least in the championship round, pulling the ball, leaving a very difficult split.
Earlier, we had a chance to talk to David Traber. We asked him how he got started in bowling.
Well, I started out in the junior programs. My parents got our whole family involved in it. My brother's a good bowler, and I started men's league when I was 15, and I bowled with my brother a lot, and that helped me a lot out here because it was just some experience, the competition of bowling against him. And we got into regional programs about at the same time, and then I just wanted to come out here, and I hope to do well today.
So the young man that is looking for his first PBA full tour victory, David Traber, will be back. The Socorro Mission was established in 1680 and once a haven for the fleeing settlers, now serving the oldest continuously active parish in the United States. Socorro,
Jersey, it's the dramatic conclusion of the Tour de France tomorrow on ABC Sports.
Le Mans leading. Good news for the USA. And the leader here. He has won 2 matches prior to coming into the semifinal. Scott Dvers leading by 14 over David Traber. Left the 7-pin on the right lane. In 1989, Scott won $29,000. Last year, or rather this year, over 41. So he's really coming to the front. And up front now with our next bowler is Nelson Burton.
Thank you, Chris. Our tournament leader, Joe Salvemini. You're my pick to win, Joe, but you're on a string of second-place finishes. How do you intend to change that today?
Well, I can't say that it's not on my mind, but I'm just going to take the same approach that I have the last few weeks and just go out and try to bowl the best I can. Ball's reacting pretty good. If everything holds up, and all I have to do is make the shots, I think I'll be there.
All right, good luck. We'll know in about 25 minutes. Back to you, Chris.
That was Scott Dvers with another strike here in the semifinal game. Scott's last win, 1988, his 3rd title, and that came in Austin, Texas. Our assistant up here, David Allen, from Austin, Texas. All right. David Traber, with that double, has cut Scott Dvers' lead to 4 pins in the semifinal.
We saw Billy Hall, who really struggled. First time ever in a championship round of any type. David Traber told me he's bowled 15 to 20 championship rounds at the regional level. That's the regional PBA program. 7 regions around the country. David, one of the tops in the Midwest.
Fortunately, only the 610 for that high hit.
A lesson to be learned watching these players today is, number 1, finish your follow-through. David just cut his follow-through very short. Now watch this shot here. He plays the right line, just throws the ball, pulls that follow-through right back. A little more extension, that ball would have set up and hooked a little bit later and possibly hit in the pocket.
Remember, the winner of this game will meet Joe Salvemini, to whom Bo just talked. The British Open Golf Championship from the old course, just in front of the ancient Royal and Ancient.
Got to root for a fellow Missourian, Payne Stewart, who's right in the hunt.
And the Tour de France, the final stage, moving into the Champs-Élysées. Will it be Greg leading right now? You can find out more about it, how he did it, on Wide World of Sports, which follows us. Championship fight. Live coverage of a turf race from Atlantic City and Tour de France coverage.
Now Dvers for the 4-7 to maintain the lead.
Scott Dvers wearing the yellow shirt. Greg LeMond is wearing the yellow jersey.
You know, the Tour de France last year, Chris, and I've really not watched a whole lot of cycling. It was probably the most exciting finish I've ever seen of any sporting event last year, and I'm sure it'll be much of the same tomorrow as Greg LeMond tries to defend his title. Now, Scott Dvers, 7th frame.
And we should point out that the tournament leader, Joe Salvemini, is wearing a yellow shirt, as well as... All right, watch this. Did you know?
14 sales calls, 6 cities, 2 days.
Oh, and don't forget your mother's birthday.
It's the Quality Inn's International Summer Classic on ABC Sports next Saturday.
Yes, Mike Albee won the U.S. Open in Edmond. Did he not?
Yes, he did. $100,000, and it's a long format. And once again, it'll be the long format for our season finale on ABC television. The players will be starting in Edmond tomorrow.
So it's not the 42 games. They have to do 56.
56 games as we see Dave Traber in the 7th frame trying to get something going here as he trails by 8 pins. And he's really in this match. Traber, a style very similar to Scott Dvers. They're not big strike bowlers. They don't get a lot of open frames, and they stay close in match. And I'm sure that as you see the spare here, Traber has no trouble with it. Now for David Traber, who has really got nothing going, but he has struck twice on the right-hand lane and only once on the left. He'll finish on this left-hand lane, so we'll see how he does here. 8th frame. It's up for grabs. Anybody can win the match. Semifinal.
Okay. Looking for that first win, and so is Melissa, David's wife. Great smile. Now Scott Dvers. If you just joined us, he has 2 victories. 236 to 179, 223 to Willie Hall's 211. Scott defeated Jess Stayrook in the first game. Now in the semifinal, the winner of it will meet Joe Salvemini.
And Stevers taking the bull by the horns right there. He had struck every time on this left-hand lane, had not struck on the right-hand lane, had been high every shot, went with extra speed, made the ball set up in a 1-2 pocket, has an 18-pin lead, can open up to a commanding 28-pin lead if he can hit the left-hand lane for a 5th consecutive time in this match. 9th frame. Watch the action of the 5-pin. The ball hit the 1-2 and saw that 5 out into the 10. Key shot for Traber. Must strike here. Critical situation if he's going to win the match.
is up to the challenge. David Traber, Woodstock, Illinois, 27 years old, 6-footer, 190 pounds.
This is a frame where the tournament can either be won or lost for David Traber. He has a chance to strike out for 222 and take the lead in the match. He trails by 18. He's in a must-strike situation, 10th frame.
What a finishing performance by Traber.
Got a little of that Walter Ray Williams Jr. in him. You can't really tell what he's thinking. He is a concentrated player, and he makes his very, very best shot under the pressure here in the 10th. Now, for the first time in the match, he can take the lead, 11th frame.
Picture described that, but verbally it would be hard the way the 7-10 finally left.
Well, Chris, I asked Tony Westlake, one of the great clutch players on the tour, what he thought about or what he did when he was really under pressure. He says, I threw it a little harder because I felt like I'd pull it. That's exactly what Dave Traber did. He takes the lead here in the match, has a possible 222.
Traber shooting a 222, and now Scott Dvers.
It's must time. Dvers has no room for error. He must strike on this ball. If he strikes, he wins and goes on to bowl Salvemini for the title. If he doesn't strike, Traber bowls Salvemini.
So it will be an all left-handed final. And two young men with yellow shirts.
Well, the yellow shirt, the yellow jersey worn by Lamond, who we'll watch in the Wide World of Sports right after the Pro Bowlers Tour. But right now, it's been a very great performance by both these players. Traber really proving his mettle as he struck out with 5 consecutive strikes to put the pressure on Scott Dvers. Dvers, 4 in a row, answering, will win the match and go on to bowl Joe Salvemini. He needs one pin. Needs one pin, and he looks to the scoreboard. The only time I've ever seen anybody get dejected and throw it away like this was Don Janello many years ago in Torrance, California. But Dvers had enough forethought. Look at the scoreboard. Hit one pin. He's the winner. Go on to meet Salvemini.
What a conversion. 226. To 222. ABC Sports Presentation Professional Bowling Tour will return after this message and a word from our local ABC station.
Frank Gifford once again from New York. A reminder coming up at 4:30 on ABC's Wide World of Sports. From Italy, the IBF World Junior Middleweight Championship between champion Gianfranco Rossi against the #1 ranked contender Darren Van Horn. We'll also have same-day coverage of the Tour de France, where today Greg LeMond made a dramatic move in his quest for a second straight victory. He's taken the overall lead. And from Atlantic City, live coverage of the Caesars International Handicap. Right now, let's rejoin Chris Schenkel.
Thank you very much, Frank. Scott Dvers, 7 strikes in this victory, making it 3 in a row now, and he goes against the tournament leader, Joe Salvemini. We're in El Paso, Texas, and right now we've put the spotlight on youth. Nelson.
Chris, young strikers and one of the great young players here in the El Paso area, Richard Daniels. Richard, tell us about your career so far. You've had a great career in college and what you expect to do after college.
Well, right now I plan on going to UTEP and getting my education out of the way and doing a lot of practicing and bowl some regionals on the side. And as soon as my college career is over with, I hope to get out there on the tour with the big boys.
You were with North Texas State this year. How'd you do in the national championship?
I was with West Texas, but we did pretty good. Took 8th in the nation, and we're looking strong, and they look like they're going to have a good team next year.
Richard, what's your major?
My major is computer business.
Oh, okay.
Well, he sounds like a great prospect for the PBA Tour, and we're going to have a very exciting championship match. 2 lefties, Chris.
All right, and shooting first is a tournament leader, bowling out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Edmond, where we'll be next week, is a suburb of Oklahoma City. Joe Salvemini was born in San Francisco, California. a 7-pin. Two 3-time PBA champions are battling each other for the top spot, and in addition to a very attractive trophy, $20,000 to the winner, $10,500 to the runner-up.
Salvemini, who won his first 2 titles in 1983, defeated 2 left-handers, Johnny Petraglia and Steve Cook. And since then, he has had trouble against lefties in the championship match.
Joe Salvemini, 2 of his 3 wins came from the top seed. As a 3rd seed, he won his 3rd title in Austin in 1989. Now, Scott Dvers. 22 strikes in 3 victories.
Well, Dvers has it all going for him. He got by the first match. He was a little shaky, and then he bowled very solid in his second match against Dave Traber, and he looks really sharp and has adjusted to the lanes against Joe Salvemini in the very first frame. Dvers, surely his confidence is bolstered by that clutch strike in the 10th frame to win the last match.
That's immediately putting the pressure on a man who's had to wait in the wings for this opportunity as the tournament leader. Another 7-pin.
Well, Salvemini turns around a little bit dejected, and you know, he's trying to break a string of second-place finishes, and sometimes you get thinking, hey, it's not in the stars for me. As you see Salvemini's style, he pulls inside out, then realigns his swing and gets that swing right by his foot as he releases the ball, plays that outside line very, very, very well as Scott Dvers and the 7-pin. You know, Chris, that Salvemini has a lesson to be learned from him. He really came on the tour very well in the early 80s, 83, when we bowled on lacquer finishes, and he did well. And then he struggled on these urethanes, and he's changed his speed control so far this year. He's thrown a lot harder in the last 6 or 7 weeks, and he's been right near the top almost every week, trying to obviously break that string of second-place finishes, but really looks sharp.
And Joe this time leaving the 2-4. Though I'd mentioned we're in El Paso, and I'll get to that in a moment, but right now a replay of that last shot.
Well, just the soft speed. He didn't keep the speed up, and it's more important than ever on synthetic lanes to keep up the ball speed. Dvers has done that well in the last match. Salvemini has to be conscious of that. Chris?
Okay, it's a spare ball. In your 17 victories, didn't you win in El Paso at one time?
In 1970, 20 years ago, I had the luxury of winning in El Paso, not at this bowling center. This is a modern new center that Roy Lown and his 3 partners have put together, but it was a victory over another left-hander, Johnny Petraglia, who was with us in the earlier commentary and with the tip. So things don't change too much over a 20-year period.
And I'm so glad on our summer tour that we got to El Paso. I'm very impressed with this West Texas, southwestern type city on the Rio Grande, and it has a lot to offer. People take time to smile here, and bowler will smile after strikes like that.
You're right, Chris. That was kind of unusual pin action. He went from maybe it's a strike, maybe it's a 7-10 split. Nope, it's 3 strikes in a row. I have a 23-pin lead. I take a re-rack. I come up in the 4th, a chance to put Salvemini down 33 pins.
Scott Dvers in his 4th match of the afternoon. It's very warm inside, but he's meeting the challenge. We'll be back. Salvemini from Oklahoma City. Because of strikes by Scott Dvers, he's trailing by 33. Joe shooting in the 4th frame, a spare up. 7.
Back in the booth with us, Johnny Petraglia. Johnny, what has happened to Salvemini out there? We see how well Dvers is bowling right now.
Well, Bo, I think the same thing happened to Joe that happened to Stayrook. Stayrook was really hooking the ball a lot, kept leaving solid 7s and ringing 7s. Joe started out the same way, and I think he tried to fit the ball to 3rd and 4th frame to get it out.
All right, Joe Salvemini. We asked him his age when he started bowling.
Well, I got started pretty late. I didn't bowl juniors at all. I started when I was 20. It was kind of a fluke. My girlfriend talked me into doing it. And 2 years later, I picked it up real quick, and I bowled real well. And I just found it was a way to make money. And 2 years later, I won my first title. And 7 years after that, I'm still here doing it, and I expect to win today.
Joe Salvemini, Bo.
Well, Chris, he expects to win, but he better get his own pencil out because he's got a major, major problem. Not only is he trailing by 35 pins going into that shot, but he now has a very, very difficult split. The 3, 6, 7, and 9. And what he has to do is just clip that 3-pin on the right side with a big hook and send that 3-pin over into the 7.
Tough break for Joe Salvemini, the tournament leader, open frame in the 5th.
Trails by 50, and now Scott Dvers knows that with one more shot, Johnny Petraglia, it can be all over.
Well, he's got to be figuring right now that if Joe goes off the sheet, it's 230, and he's got to be having in his head one more strike and spare out, and I got a victory no matter what he does.
Good point.
Strong enough to bowl all through the night. This is 4th game, and it's hot in here.
You're right, Chris, and that's what dead stroke is known about on the Professional Bowlers Tour. It's not very often a player has the luxury of what I say a victory lap. After 5 frames, he has the match well in hand. He's in dead stroke. He has 5 frames to enjoy it. He can just slow down, take his time, and throw some strikes here because I don't think there's any way that Salvemini can come back.
The string at 5. It's all right, Joe. We don't give 100,000 for. I mean, Scott, we don't give 100,000 for a perfect 300 anyway on the summer tour.
Well, you know, if he had gotten that strike, it'd have been 6 in a row. We'd have mentioned it and jinxed him, Chris. Of course.
That's right. It's like talking about no hitters, huh? Bowlers don't feel that way, as baseball players do.
As you watch the replay, the key pin's the head pin. It goes to the sideboard, mixes between the 5, 6, and 10 pins. It doesn't roll off the 6 into the 10, leaves an easy spare. And for Salvemini, it must be all strikes from here on out. Well, Johnny Petraglia, they should have watched your bowling tip of the week when you talked about the lefty not hooking the ball too much and playing the down and in shot.
Well, I think the down and in shot's working today, Bo. What's happening? It's the 4th game today. The oil's moving around. We're starting to get an overreaction for the guys that hook it, and that's what's happening to Joe right now. A little inside his mark, it hangs. A little outside of it, it's going through the nose.
So what can he do? He has to straighten the ball out, change shots. What would you do, John? You were a hook ball player.
Well, as good as Scott is bowling right now, I would try and get my feet a little bit left, increase speed, and take a little bit off the ball, trying to get close to the angle that he's playing.
And hope.
It's just disbelief at the line for Joe.
Scoring pretty good today, a 216 average for the players so far. For the whole year, 23 telecasts on ABC Sports. We've had a 210.31 average in the championship round. I'd like to see that improve a little bit over the next year or so, but good action. With apparently Scott Dvers in the driver's seat here, he will make it a 50-50 deal for the tournament leader this year. The tournament leader will have won just 50% of the times, as we're the 2/3 mark of the professional bowler season.
And Bo, I think you professional bowlers are getting more physically fit because we've had a lot that have been in the number 5 position to go all the way through in the finals to win.
think it's a good point, Chris. I say it's like the Roger Bannister theory. When he broke the 4-minute mile, everybody else had to train to learn to break the 4-minute mile. And with the younger players coming on the tour, especially the last 5 or 6 years, a lot of college players, they're forcing everybody to get in top shape. The level of bowling is up on the Pro Tour.
Just for instance, as the split is broken up, this is the 3rd straight week a bowler has won 4 games to win. 3rd straight, wow.
Well, a part of that's the condition. When the lane condition is pretty tough, and we haven't seen any easy conditions, the player who gets loose has the advantage, that's for sure.
Oh, I think you hit it right on the nose. One of the differences between now and years ago was on lacquer, the lane just dried up. So the bowler coming on still had a good idea of where to play. With urethane, they changed so drastically, it takes some time to figure them out.
Yeah, but John, if the scoring environment was a little bit higher, you wouldn't have that problem.
Exactly right, Bo.
All right, Joe. He has a right to raise his hands. It's a personal victory, finally getting that strike coming in the 8th frame. He's really a neat guy. And look what he's done this week.
42-game format, 18 games of qualifying. Traber led the qualifying. Then Salvemini came on in the last 8 games of match play to take the lead, but he's going to finish second.
Appreciative bowling crowd here at Bowl El Paso.
Scott Dvers with that full grip, fingertip grip, but a nice, smooth, easy style a la Earl Anthony.
We had so many people help us in doing our scene set, the opening. Barbara Sykes of the Convention Bureau here, Bo, was so helpful, along with her associate Joe Sierra. You know, taking you up the side of the mountain and telling you, some of the history of El Paso. And Marty Robbins, the late Marty Robbins, drove the pace car at Indy when I rode one year. It was not the year we crashed. But he loved this city, and he talked about it a lot. And his music lives on about this sprawling West Texas town.
I agree with you, Chris. It's very nice to be in El Paso. I'm sure that ABC will come back here next year with the telecast of the El Paso Open.
All right. He'll be in the 230s, Scott Dvers. He's had games of 236, 223, and 236.
Possible 239 for champion Dvers.
Will that get him off the Rabbit squad, Bo? Bo, will that get him off the Rabbit squad qualifying?
Yeah. That's a victory. He's free for 1 year.
Ah, yes. Kevin Shipley is PR director of the PBA, talking to Scott, the victor, shooting a 238. We'll have Salvemini score for you a little bit later. We'll be back. And from the Richmond, Indiana area, the winner, Scott Dvers, congratulations.
Thank you very much. This surpasses all my expectations this week. I started out pretty slow, and then fortunately I found the right combination, and it paid off. And I'm just happy to be here. I want to thank Benny, all the rest of the general managers. El Paso, the city of El Paso is great. The fans, thank you very much.
Let's see how it paid off. Scott Dvers, $20,000, 10-5, so on down the line, at a prize fund of $130,000. Joe Salvemini was the tournament leader, and like Scott, had the yellow shirts like Greg LeMond has in France. Bo?
Chris, one quick comment from Joe. Joe, you led 3 tournaments this summer and 3 second-place finishes. You looked aggressive. What went wrong out there, real quickly?
A couple 7-pins early, and then tried to change the roll to carry because I saw Scott was lined up, and ball just did funny things again. And I thought I threw the ball better than I did last time, but didn't work out, and he bowled great.
Okay, Joe, good luck next week in Oklahoma City.
Ben Salasinas, who's the general manager here and has done a great job, has a beautiful trophy and a check.
Yes, sir. Congratulations for your good bowling, Scott. And we appreciate the PBA and ABC being here.
Will you invite us back?
Well, we hope so.
We like your town. We like your victory, Hoosier.
Well, I tell you what, I hope we come back because this will definitely be a good spot for me to come back.
No more rabbit squads.
All right.
Okay, that's it from El Paso. For Bo Burton, I'm Chris Schenkel. So long from El Paso. The score is Jeffrey Mason. Produced by Carol Letty. Directed by Earl Fryman. Technical Director Les Weiss. Associate Director Dick Buffington. Technical Operations Manager Mike Fisher. Assistant to the producer Kurt Pfluger.
The Pro Bowlers Spring Tour has been brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by the Milford Plaza, one of New York's finest hotels. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.